Last month, a 52-year-old executive came into the clinic. His labs were normal. His A1C, 5.3%, normal. His fasting glucose, normal range. But he said something that stopped me as he leaned forward and said quietly, "Doc, my brain doesn't feel like it used to." He wasn't forgetting his name. He wasn't lost, but something was off. Focus was harder. Decisions took longer. Afternoon brain fog was constant. He did not have diabetes, but he did have something far more common and far more dangerous: insulin resistance. And here's what most people don't realize. Your brain can become insulin resistant years before you're diagnosed with diabetes.
If you are over 35, you have noticed mental fatigue, brain fog, memory slips, or sugar cravings, this conversation is about you. Because insulin resistance doesn't just affect your blood sugar, it affects your brain health, and it often starts years before diabetes shows up on a lab test. Today, I am going to explain why that happens, how it increases risk for cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease, and what you can actually do to improve insulin sensitivity and protect your brain. But to understand this, we need to rethink what insulin actually does in the body.
Most people think insulin is only about blood sugar control, but insulin is also a brain signaling hormone. Inside your brain are insulin receptors. Think of them like doorbells on brain cells. When insulin presses that doorbell, it allows glucose, your brain's fuel, to enter. It also strengthens communication between neurons, especially in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory formation. When those receptors stop responding well, your brain doesn't use glucose for energy efficiently.
Let me simplify that. Your brain runs on fuel. If insulin resistance develops, it's like the fuel delivery system becomes sluggish. The gas is there, in this case glucose, but it's not getting into the engine properly. That's when you start feeling mental fatigue, slower recall, reduced focus, even if your A1C is still normal. This can begin 10 to 15 years before type 2 diabetes develops. Now the real question becomes, why does the brain get affected before diabetes even develops?
The brain is one of the most energy-demanding organs in the body. It uses about 20% of your daily energy. That makes it extremely sensitive to metabolic dysfunction. Here are the major problems associated with this. Chronic stress increases cortisol. Poor sleep reduces insulin sensitivity. Visceral abdominal fat increases inflammation. Ultra-processed foods spike insulin repeatedly. Over time, brain insulin signaling weakens. Studies using FDG-PET scans show reduced glucose metabolism in the hippocampus years before type 2 diabetes diagnosis.
Here is the part that concerns me as a physician. By the time your blood sugar rises enough to be labeled pre-diabetes, your brain may have already been struggling silently. That is why some researchers have described Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. Not because it's the same disease, but because insulin resistance in the brain plays a significant role. So, what does this mean for your long-term brain health? And the one disease that readily comes to mind is Alzheimer's disease.
Alzheimer's disease is characterized by impaired glucose metabolism in the brain. Multiple studies have shown that reduced insulin signaling, increased neuroinflammation, and higher amyloid accumulation occur in Alzheimer's disease. When insulin signaling weakens, amyloid clearance becomes less efficient. That increases risk for cognitive decline over time. Be aware that insulin normally helps regulate amyloid clearance. But when insulin signaling fails, plaque accumulation accelerates.
Now let me be clear. Insulin resistance does not guarantee dementia, but it does mean that brain insulin resistance is a modifiable risk factor. And that is powerful because risk factors can be changed. So how do you know if this could be happening to you? You may notice that you forget names more often. You crash mentally at 3 p.m. You crave sugar when stressed. You multitask less efficiently. You feel mentally slower than 5 years ago. And your labs still say normal, and even a good physical exam. But metabolically, your brain could already be insulin resistant. Now, here is the empowering part. If insulin resistance affects the brain before diabetes, then improving insulin sensitivity can improve brain function. And the good news is that brain insulin resistance is often reversible in early stages. Here is what works. Supported by scientific data. 1. Resistance training improves insulin receptor sensitivity. 2. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep restores metabolic balance. 3. Reducing visceral fat improves hippocampal glucose metabolism. 4. Limiting refined carbohydrates reduces insulin spikes. 5. Time-restricted eating improves metabolic flexibility, and even modest weight loss of 5 to 10% significantly improves insulin sensitivity. Now, you don't need extreme biohacking. You need consistency. And if you are over 40, this is the window where intervention matters most. Most people think, I will worry about dementia when I'm 70. But insulin resistance often begins in your 30s and 40s. And cognitive changes can start quietly in your 50s. By the time symptoms become obvious, the process has been underway for years. That is why prevention must start earlier.
Insulin resistance is not just a blood sugar issue. It is a brain health issue. It can begin silently, but it does not have to progress silently. So, if you're experiencing brain fog, if your memory feels slightly off, if you have abdominal weight gain or poor sleep, this is your early warning system, not panic, but opportunity. So because the same steps that improve insulin resistance, improve brain clarity, improve longevity, and reduce dementia risk.
If this helped you understand brain fog, insulin resistance, metabolic health, and cognitive decline more clearly, subscribe. Because next, we are breaking down why recovery slows down after 40, a physiological explanation. And it may change how you train, heal, and protect your body forever.